Chase Briscoe turned down Team Penske in favor of JGR, and after a dismal weekend at New Hampshire, Richard Childress Racing makes a sudden change. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. So much to get to today, but first, this episode is sponsored by Peanut Patch. Boiled peanuts are a southern tradition that goes back to the colonial era and are still one of the most popular southern snacks today. Peanut Patch peanuts are available in original flavor, Cajun flavor, hot and spicy, salt and vinegar. You might see Peanut Patch at various country music festivals this summer or in the Smart Modified Tour with championship driver Burt Myers. You can also see Peanut Patch at Nashville Superspeedway. They will be there giving out some free samples. They'll have a big Peanut Patch truck. You can't miss them. Head to peanutpatch.com for more. Be sure to follow on Facebook and Instagram. Links down in the description. Thank you to Peanut Patch for sponsoring the show. The big news yesterday, Joe Gibbs Racing confirmed that Chase Briscoe will be the next driver of the number 19. Since the original announcement, some additional information has come out. Kelly Crandall, writing for Racer.com, I'll link the full article down below, asked Briscoe about how this deal came together, and Chase Briscoe told her that he was talking to the Wood brothers and Team Penske at the same time he was talking to Gibbs. Briscoe said, quote, "On Tuesday, Penske called me again and we discussed what they were willing to do, and Tuesday night, JGR sent me an actual contract. Joe called me and said, hey, we'll know by Wednesday at 11 a.m. if Martin Truex Jr. is coming back. That's his deadline. He called me, I think it was at 10:55, and said, Martin is not coming back." Wow. Briscoe then said that he still went and met with the Wood brothers out of respect, but after that meeting, he turned around and signed a contract with Joe Gibbs Racing. Very interesting to hear how this all came together. Originally, I thought Chase Briscoe to the Wood brothers made a ton of sense. I feel somewhat validated that the Wood brothers felt the same way. But man, this is something I didn't touch on in yesterday's video. What a fumble by Ford. I get that it's hard to compete with Joe Gibbs Racing. I mean, like Briscoe said yesterday, Joe Gibbs Racing was the only team to not ask him what sponsorship he brings. They had Bass Pro Shops lined up. It's hard to compete with JGR. But losing Chase Briscoe is going to sting. What this quote confirms is that Harrison Burton's days in the 21 are all but numbered. They are actively looking for his replacement. Chase Briscoe was clearly plan A, which makes sense. Longtime Ford driver, they've invested a ton into his career. Briscoe to a legendary team like the Wood brothers with that Penske alliance. Ooh, I'm intrigued. But now that that's off the table, what's plan B? B for Barry? Rumors suggest Josh Berry has met with the Wood brothers recently. That's not a bad plan B, especially if he comes with Rodney Childers. That would intrigue me as well. Ford cannot afford to lose any more talented racers. They've lost Kevin Harvick, Eric Almirola since last year to retirement, obviously. They're losing Michael McDowell to Spire and Chevrolet. Zane Smith left Ford this past offseason after winning a Truck Series championship. If the Noah Gragson rumors are true, he could leave Ford for Chevrolet. Shoot, Riley Herbst has been linked to Toyota. Now Chase Briscoe, who's worn the blue oval logo on his fire suit for, 7 or 8 years now? He's leaving for Toyota. That's a lot of talent walking out the door. Not to mention, Ford drivers like Harrison Burton haven't really worked out. Ryan Preece maybe dealt a bad hand at Stewart-Haas. And Austin Cindric is, I don't know. Fortunately, Ford still has Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, Chris Buescher, Brad Keselowski. Todd Gilliland seems decent. Hey, Justin Haley looks pretty good, although Rick Ware's not a key Ford partner. For their sake, I hope Ford can retain Josh Berry and Rodney Childers. Otherwise, the Ford farm system, if you will, is drained. They traded their future to win now, and it worked. They won back-to-back championships with Joey Logano and Ryan Blaney. But now, Ford is kind of scrambling. They're borderline in rebuild mode. See, NASCAR isn't that different from other stick and ball sports when you really think about it. Back to the Chase Briscoe decision, I think he made the right choice. Joe Gibbs Racing is a better team than the Wood brothers right now. Now, with the Joe Gibbs Racing contract comes more pressure. If Chase Briscoe was 22 years old, I'd be nervous. Is he ready for this opportunity? Is he mature enough? Does he have enough experience? But in reality, Chase Briscoe is 29 years old. If he's not ready for this opportunity now, he'll never be. This is what he's been auditioning for many, many years. Now it's time to step into the spotlight, take on the lead role. You don't need another supporting actor credit over here. He's ready for his headlining Broadway debut. That's what Joe Gibbs Racing is. Where Briscoe's at in his career, I think he's as ready as he'll ever be for this opportunity. I think he made the right decision. Higher pressure, but potentially much higher reward going over to Joe Gibbs Racing. Let me know if you agree down in the comment section below. Where do the Wood brothers and Team Penske go from here? We'll see. Next, Chase Briscoe wasn't the only headline yesterday. Richard Childress Racing released their own statement. Longtime Richard Childress Racing competition executive Andy Petrie has announced his retirement from the 55-year-old race team. Keith Rodden has been appointed interim competition director of RCR. Whoa, a pretty sudden shakeup at the top of Richard Childress Racing. Andy Petrie has been a part of RCR here and there for decades now, going back to the 90s when he was crew chief for Dale Earnhardt during a couple of his championship runs. More recently, he's been in a competition director executive role. In fact, just this past offseason, he was promoted to the role of executive vice president. But I wonder, with Justin Alexander hopping back aboard the pit box for Austin Dillon midway through this year, if maybe Andy Petrie was back in that competition director role more formally. Anyway, we don't have a lot of details here. Maybe there's a personal reason Andy Petrie suddenly decided to step away and retire. But considering the timing, I wouldn't be surprised if this is just the start of some major personnel shakeups within RCR. The timing couldn't be worse, to use RCR's own words against them. Just 3 days ago, Austin Dillon finished 33rd and Kyle Busch finished 35th at New Hampshire. Is it a coincidence that the very next week we would see sudden leadership changes? Maybe, but I think not. Now is the time to make some significant changes. No disrespect to Richard Childress, to Andy Petrie, to all the great things they've accomplished in their long careers. But this ain't the same old NASCAR. You don't build the cars the same way. You don't work on the cars during the weekend the same way. It's all about data and simulation. The last couple of years, we've highlighted younger teams like Trackhouse, like 2311, like RFK. Once Brad Keselowski got there, he had to change the culture. Everyone at Roush was used to doing things a certain way. Brad came in and changed that, modernized that. They adapted, adjusted to the next-gen era, and now RFK's as competitive as they've been in years. Richard Childress seems like a my way or the highway kind of boss, and I don't think that works as well in modern-day NASCAR. Collaboration is the key to success. Being open to new ideas, new strategies, new technology. Stewart-Haas Racing is going under at the end of this year, but lately they've been running a lot better. Why? I think it goes back to something I heard Chase Briscoe say a few weeks ago, that all of the drivers and teams within Stewart-Haas are communicating better, working together more closely than they ever have. I don't think it's a coincidence that we've seen SHR as a team pick things up in recent weeks. I think this is the first of several changes coming to RCR. They have a generational driver, Kyle Busch, behind the wheel of one of their cars, but they are not maximizing his potential. Changes need to be made. Right now, Kyle is driving way too hard, trying to overcome a lack of performance, a lack of speed. I think about all the rumors swirling that Noah Gragson could join RCR. They might buy a third charter, run a third full-time team next year. And I don't know that this team is deep enough to make that kind of leap. I'm just spitballing here, hear me out. But maybe this is the year Austin Dillon heads upstairs. I don't want to retire anybody early. I'm just saying that last year was miserable. Austin Dillon had only one top 5 finish, 10 DNFs, missed the playoffs by a mile. Yet somehow this season is trending to be even worse. 32nd in points, 0 top 5 finishes so far, and somehow his average finish is 3 positions worse this year than the year he had 10 DNFs. How is that even possible? And like I mentioned, they've made a crew chief swap already mid-season. The results haven't gotten much better. Those first 7 races with Keith Rodden, Dillon had an average finish of 25.7. In the 11 races since with Justin Alexander, the average finish is 24.8, so not even 1 position better, roughly the same. I look at those numbers and I think, is RCR ready to be a 3-car team? I'm not sure. If they really want Noah Gragson, if he brings some funding, maybe it's time to consider putting him in the 3-car or the 33 or whatever they want to rebrand it potentially. I'm not trying to kick Austin Dillon out early. He's only like 34 years old, I think, but I'm just saying, I think this sudden Andy Petree retirement is not a coincidence. I think it's a sign of many more changes to come within RCR. Keith Rodden as interim competition director does not instill confidence, not at all. So I think there will be more changes. Could those changes include drivers? Maybe, maybe not. But I think you can make the argument that if Justin Alexander isn't able to get more out of Austin Dillon the second half of this year, then they may be forced to have some very difficult conversations. What's your reaction to this RCR news? Let me know down in the comment section below. I'm happy to see them making changes, but it's going to take more to get the most out of Kyle Busch and Austin Dillon and whoever else might drive for them going forward. It's a shame because their Xfinity Series program is humming along pretty nicely. Austin Hill, Jesse Love looking good this year. Just can't figure out the Cup Series side of things. Man. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more NASCAR content and commentary every single day. I'll be at Nashville this weekend, can't wait. And thank you to my Patreon supporters as well for keeping this show growing. I really appreciate your generous support. We're halfway through the season. I need to check how my fantasy team is doing, our Patreon Fantasy League. I was 7th or 8th. I should probably check on that this week, see if I've fallen down the standings too far. Thanks for watching, y'all. I will see you again very, very soon. Have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday.